Hey guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about a couple just useful functions for setting up your Ncurses the way you want it, as well as working more with borders to customize them a little bit. So first off, we're going to be talking about these three functions up here that I have commented out after a init screen. Now these are three functions that you might commonly call at the beginning of your curses, or possibly in between, in the middle. I'm not quite sure. You probably could, but I usually just call them at the beginning. I've never had to really switch back and forth between the two during a program before. But let's just go over what they do. So first we'll start out by just, we'll use the cbreak function right here. So cbreak, essentially what that does is, if you're familiar at all with bash or scripting on the command line, or the terminal I guess, then you know that Control-C will exit out of most programs. cbreak makes it so that Control-C exits out of your Ncurses program. So, for example, if we run this function now, so we'll make the file. Actually, let me make sure I saved it, because sometimes I don't save it. Alright, there we go. So, let's run this file. And we'll see the program we had before, which is the box program. And if we hit Control-C, it exits out. Now, this shouldn't have just exited out, because if it wasn't just going to exit out with Control-C, it would have only registered that as one character, and it should have waited for another character. For instance, now if we use the function raw, which is essentially not the opposite of cbreak, but it basically just takes all input as raw input. It doesn't accept special characters like Control-C to exit. So if we run this now, but with raw as a modifier, then when we hit Control-C, it'll actually just show us Control-C in the top left corner, and it'll wait for another character, and we can hit Control-C again. But as you can see, it didn't exit out like it did with cbreak. And the way it printed Control-C actually gets us to the next part, the noecho. So what noecho does is it makes it so whatever input the user types doesn't show up on the screen. It just it basically enters it without printing it to the screen like that. So, for instance, let's actually run it, and you'll actually see what I'm talking about. So, this time, if we press a character, it doesn't show up in the top left corner. I just pressed a character, I promise. And if I hit another one, it'll exit. So, instead of printing it out like it did the first time, noecho makes it so it doesn't print out. So that's actually a really useful function, noecho. The raw and cbreak thing, I don't think it's that important, honestly. What we'll try, I want to try one right now. I don't know if by default it does one or the other, so let's comment both out and see what happens. So if we run the program and we try Control-C, alright, so by default it does cbreak. So Control-C will happen naturally, but you know, it's good to define this at the beginning regardless, so that people know what to expect out of your program. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just going to leave cbreak on, because I think it's useful. What's going on here? Actually, a good reason to use cbreak is if you're like testing a program, so that way if something goes wrong, you can exit out of it without having to basically close the window, close your terminal. So cbreak can be helpful for testing, I guess is one way to put it. But anyways, back to boxes. We're going to talk about customizing borders today. Now, in the last tutorial, we created this box, but I didn't really tell you what these two values actually represented. I just threw them in as zeros. That's because 0 is the default value, and what it'll do is it'll give you a default box. But what these characters actually represent is what you would use for the character you want to use for the top and bottom border, and the character you want to use for the left and right border. So, as an example, it takes integer values, and I actually, for some reason, I know what the integer value for G is, but the integer value for G is 103. You can look these up online really easily, and I'll show you a trick later so that you don't actually have to know them. But so if we make those numbers 103 instead of 0, which is 0 just gives it the default border, but if we do 103, it'll give us a border of G's, which obviously is not very pretty, but that's what it gives us. So I'm pretty sure the first one is top and bottom, and the second one is left and right. So let's just check real quick. So top and bottom should be... Oh, okay, so the first one is left and right, and the second one is top and bottom. So, but now here's a little secret to get around that. If you create a character, C, and we make it the letter G, what all you have to do here is cast that as an integer value, and it should print out the correct value. Let's check. Yep, so that's a way to get around it if you don't know the integer value and you don't want to look it up. You can always just typecast a char to int, because by default they typecast to their proper decimal value. Sorry, my mom walked in. Anyways, so the that's a very basic one that just allows you to only customize the top, bottom, left, and right, and not even individually, just as a whole. If you want to really customize exactly how your border looks, you can use what's called wborder, which takes a window and then the left, right, top, bottom, top left corner, top right corner. So top left corner, top right corner, bottom left corner, and bottom right corner. And those are all integer values and or characters, depending on the way you want to look at them. But say we wanted the left and right to be, so we want int left, right, top, bottom, TLC, TRC, BLC, BRC. Obviously this is a little tedious, and it's not easy to remember. That's why I had this printed out before. So just remember it goes left, right, top, bottom, and then top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. So we want to make the left and right equal to, we'll do int value, the int value of G. So actually we'll do 103. We'll just say 103, so it'll be G. I know this is not going to look great, but we're going to do it regardless. So if we wanted to achieve the same effect as we had before, where we have the left and right equal to G and the top and bottom equal to H, we'll do this, and then if we want, this time we'll make the corners equal to plus signs, so it kind of looks interesting. I don't know. Usually, more often than not, the corners are all going to be the same character, so you can usually just combine these all into the same thing like this. But yeah, I don't really know what the value for plus is, so we're just going to typecast that here. But yeah, so that should give us a similar result to before. So let's give it a try. Make hell failed. Oh, I spelled bottom wrong. Here we go. Now if we make that and run it, you'll see that we get H for the top and the bottom, because we set the top and bottom equal to 104. And then for the left and right we get G's, and then for the corners we get a plus symbol. So that's how you can customize borders, which can be useful for, like, if you want it to look a very specific way, or you don't want a bottom border, you could set the bottom border equal to a space character, so it just looks like nothing. So let's do that. Let's set specifically the bottom border equal to just a space, which again I don't remember what the char for it is, so we'll just call the char space. I could have looked this up before the tutorial, but I don't think that far ahead. For space, and rerun this. Make hello, and it'll give us an empty bottom border. So that could be useful. Also say let's get rid of the bottom left corner and bottom right corner and make those space as well. So bottom left corner, bottom right corner equals that. Oops. And we'll just get rid of these here, so they don't overwrite it. So let's make that again and run hello. And there we go. So now, bottom left corner, bottom right corner, space, the entire bottom is space. So that's how you work with borders. I hope that's made some sense. If not, leave some comments below, and I'll see you guys soon, hopefully.